It was July 1991. And we were all out at Boscov's because the Historical Society, they were having some kind of a fundraiser. I don't remember just what it was. And of course Aunt Joan was involved with the fundraiser. And we were all out there helping her. And I don't know, out of a clear blue sky, Bob comes up to me and he says, "I think we finally found the dog we were looking for." And I thought, I didn't even know we were looking for a dog. We had not talked about it up until this point. We'd never mentioned getting a dog up until this point. But suddenly we found the dog we were looking for. So we went over to the pet department, which, by the way, you do realize that Boscov's had a pet department at the time. And Bob gives me this sad story about the farmer who brought in these 2 dogs, and oh, how beautiful they were, and look at this one. And he was already in love with this black lab. Well, the black lab had a sister, and for as black as he was, she was just that brown with the big blue eyes. And he said their parents were both pedigreed. They had a black lab and a husky. All right. But these dogs weren't pedigreed, of course, because they were a mixture. Well, he, of course, is loving this black lab, and this black lab is wagging its tail, and he's licking everybody and kissing everybody and playing up to everybody. And I'm looking at the beautiful little chocolate one here. All she did was pee on the floor. Well, I guess that was it. She wasn't coming home with us. The black lab was. Now we have another problem because in another week, Bob is going on active duty for 2 weeks. And I've never had a dog before, so I didn't know how to take care of a dog. And I have 2 kids and the dog. Okay, so Bob makes a bargain with the people at Boscov's that they would keep the dog for 2 weeks while he was away. And then when he got back from active duty, we paid for the dog, and then we'd go down and pick him up. All right, well, we've often thought about it since. Can you imagine what this poor little dog thought when he got put back in the cage and these people weren't going to take him? Okay, so 2 weeks pass, that's fine. We go back and we get the dog. And home comes the dog. Now, I'm in the front seat and the 2 kids are in the back. And Bob says, mind you, there's going to be certain rules about this dog. You do know that, all right? He is never to be given people food, and he is never to be fed from the table. Okay, but what did we know? We never had a dog before. So we thought that sounded quite reasonable, and we were going to go along with him and agree with him. Until a few weeks later, I walked out into the kitchen one morning, and who's giving him toast from the table? Both rules. Well, that was the end of it. That was the end of Mchugh not having people food, and it was the end of him not being fed from the table. There's a lot of cute stories about him as a puppy. I'll tell you one thing about Mchugh. He never damaged anything in the house. He didn't chew things on you. He didn't do anything to the furniture, but he dug a golf course out in the front yard. He liked to dig. I think he thought he was burying his bones because but it was like it wasn't deep. It was just, and maybe just a leaf over it, and that's where he thought he would hide his bones. There's one evergreen missing from the front yard because, well, I think he peed on it so often it was starting to turn yellow. But he also used to like to dig, and he'd dig and dig and dig, and then he'd sit in it. I guess it was cool for him, you know. He was, so that's the only thing that the dog ever really did was like out in the front yard. In the house, he was the best dog there ever was. He was trained in 3 days, and he just never had any accidents after that. There was a story at the rectory. He was puppy again, and as I said, I always had him with me. And Father Guglielmelli needed me for some reason over at the rectory, and I went over, took the dog out of the car. I think it was kind of warm, and we were always very careful that when he was in the car, he wasn't left in the car if it was warm, okay? And I took him on the rectory, he was up on the rectory porch, and they had a mailbox there with these little hooks underneath it. So I hooked his leash onto that, and I went into the rectory. Oh! Very shortly thereafter, you hear, oh, and there's such a ruckus going on, and Margaret is running over from the church. The dog's loose, the dog's loose, the dog's loose. Well, not only was he loose, he had pulled the mailbox totally out of the brick wall, and he was running with it. He was going over to see Margaret. He used to like to go to see Margaret because Margaret would always give him a treat, so he knew where he was going. And there's the mailbox off the porch. I don't think Father was any too happy with that day.